Watch this video to learn how to crochet super straight side edges for the double crochet, treble crochet, and half double crochet stitches. Let's follow the side edges of a typical swatch. On the edge of every other row there is a slight dip and a little bulge. For the half double crochet, the wave is less noticeable, but as the stitch height increases, such as for the double crochet, the dips and bulges are more pronounced. It is even more exaggerated for the treble crochet swatch. The reason for the edge waviness boils down to the turning chain. The required turning chain length is a tiny bit higher and a bit skinnier than the actual stitch. If you use less chains than recommended, you'd find the edges to be too tight and begin to bunch. The taller and skinnier turning chain tends to bulge out and cause a slightly larger space on the edge every other row. Instead of accepting edge waviness as the nature of crochet, I invented the reinforcement stitch to solve the dilemma. While no additional border is required to finish the edges, the reinforcement stitch provides a firmer foundation than traditional side edges and makes applying a crocheted border a dream. Let's tackle the double crochet reinforcement stitch first. Before turning the work to start the next row, chain 3. Then roll the chains over to expose the third loop on the back of the chain. It looks like a bump. Working under the third loop on the back of the turning chain, insert your hook in the second chain and pull up a loop. Insert your hook in the next chain and pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on hook. Now, turn the work by moving it toward you and then to the left. This action turns the work in the right direction so that the turning chain does not get twisted. Skip the first stitch at the base of the turning chain, as this belongs to the turning chain, and insert the hook under both loops of the next stitch and pull up a loop. There are 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2, then yarn over and pull through 3 loops on the hook. Only the working loop remains on the hook. Working the loops on the back of the turning chain has created the reinforcement stitch. The little bars not only stabilize the turning chain, but also fill the space between the turning chain and the first double crochet in the row. For counting purposes, the reinforcement stitch should be counted as 2 stitches. See how nice and firm it is? Now, let's continue across the row. At the end of the row, you have 2 choices. Both methods yield a very straight edge. Method 1 is fast and easy to do. When you reach the reinforcement stitch of the row below, work 1 double crochet into the first part of the stitch, then fold down the front loop of the last stitch to expose the very tight loops at the bottom of the corner and work 1 more double crochet. Method 1 is used if you do not plan to add a border. See how straight that edge is? Now, when you complete the last stitch in a row, chain 3 for the turning chain. Roll the chain over and pull up 2 loops, as before. Turn the work so the turning chain is not twisted. Skip the stitch at the base of the turning chain and pull up a loop in the next stitch. Now you have 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over and pull through all 3 to complete the reinforcement stitch on this side. Now continue across the row. Method 2 is an alternate way to end the row. In this case, a reinforcement stitch will be worked over the reinforcement stitch in the row below. Use method 2 if you plan to add a border or sew a flat seam later. At the end of the row, When you reach the reinforcement stitch of the row below, work 1 double crochet into the first part of the stitch. Then roll it over. You will find a bump in the middle of the stitch and the back loop of the lower part of the double crochet. Insert the hook into the bump in the middle of the row and pull up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Then insert the hook into the loop on the back of the double crochet toward its base and pull up another loop. You have 3 loops on the hook. Now insert the hook into the very tight loops at the top of the corner and pull up a loop. Four loops around the hook. Now yarn over and pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. The working loop remains on the hook. You've just finished a reinforcement stitch at the end of the row. Let's compare. No more bumps. We have a super straight edge. The treble crochet reinforcement stitch is very similar to that of the double crochet. At the end of the row, do not turn. Chain 4. This is the recommended turning chain length for treble crochets. Then roll the chain over to expose the bumps on the back. Insert your hook in the second chain from the hook and pull up a loop. Then insert it in each of the next 2 chains and pull up a loop from each. You now have 4 loops on the hook. Turn the crocheting by moving it toward you and then to the left. Skip the stitch at the base of the turning chain and insert the hook under both loops of the next stitch and pull up a loop. There are 5 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2 loops on the hook, and yarn over and pull through the last 3 loops on the hook. Only the working loop remains on the hook. You've just completed the reinforcement stitch for the treble crochet at the beginning of the row. Note how the little bars are so even. Continue across working treble crochets and I'll meet you at the other end. At the end of the row, we're going to first work method 1. In the first part of the reinforcement stitch of the row below, work 1 treble crochet. Then fold the little flap down and work the second treble crochet in that very tight little corner. This is useful when you're not going to add a border. Look how straight that edge is. If you plan to add a border, use method 2. Here's how to work a treble crochet reinforcement stitch at the end of the row. Work 1 treble crochet into the first half of the reinforcement stitch on the row below. Roll it to the back and notice there is an extra bump on the back of the stitch. Insert your hook under the first bump on the back of the stitch and pull up a loop. Do the same into the next bump. You now have 3 loops on your hook. Insert your hook into the back loop of the lower part of the treble crochet and pull up a loop. There are now 4 loops on the hook. Then insert the hook into the very tight loops at the top of the corner and pull up a loop. There are 5 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops on the hook twice. Then yarn over and pull through the last 3 loops on the hook. Only the working loop remains. See how straight this edge is? Zoop! As compared to this one with its little bulges. Now let's create the half double crochet reinforcement stitch. When you get to the end of the row, do not turn. Chain 2. This is the correct number of chains in the turning chain for the half double crochet. Roll the chain over to expose the third loop on the back of the turning chain. Insert your hook in the second stitch and pull up a loop. You have 2 loops on the hook. Turn the work by moving it toward you and then to the left. Skip the stitch at the base of the turning chain. Insert the hook under both loops of the next stitch and pull up a loop. There are now 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Only the working loop remains on the hook. The half double crochet reinforcement stitch only has 1 bar linking the turning chain to the half double crochet. To end the row using method 1, just work 2 half double crochets in the reinforcement stitch of the row below. Method 2 places the reinforcement stitch at the end of the row. Here's how. Work 1 half double crochet in the first part of the reinforcement stitch of the row below. Roll it to the back, insert the hook under the back loop at the base of the half double crochet and pull up a loop. Then insert the hook into the very tight loops at the top of the corner. Pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. The working loop remains on the hook. Even the half double crochet edge is super straight compared to our little bumps. All 3 swatches have super straight and neatly finished selvage edges. I hope you enjoyed this crochet lesson. Please take a moment and subscribe to get the latest notifications for upcoming videos. Happy crocheting!